A very good afternoon to all. Welcome to Tally CA Connect. So our today's topic of discussion, as Punit sir would like to say, the powerful as RRR, that is, will be covering reconciliation with GSTR1, 2A and 2B. We have received good number of registrations, which only states that how important this topic is and how helpful it will be. Our expert for today, CA Punit Mehta, who needs absolutely no introduction, as he is a prime speaker at our forum. CA Punit Mehta, who is an enthusiast of Tally and have been a Tally trainer for over 20 years now. Not just that, he has co-authored book Tally for Professionals, published by WIRC, and also developed a fully integrated module in Tally for builders, chartered accountants, shipping, CNF agents, schools, colleges, etc. He is a regular faculty at various important forums, and we are glad that Punit ji is a Tally evangelist and has agreed to take our session today on the very important offering of our latest release, TallyPrime 1.0, as we like to call it, Simplicity Ka Naya Avatar. So before we begin, as I'm sure the repeated audience of CA Punit Mehta would know that Punit sir likes to keep his session very interactive. So once again, I would say that please reply to what Punit sir has a query or any kind of questions in chat and your questions in Q&A so that we can keep a track and make sure that all your queries are answered. Yeah, so without further delay, we have so much to learn and so much to hear. Over to you, Punit sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Komalji, for that fine introduction. And I'm really happy and excited to be here on this platform once again after a brief amount of time. And this is a knowledge series which Tally has been regularly doing it. And some of this, even if I miss it on a particular day, if I'm not doing, some other speaker is doing. Such is the great quality of the webinars that we are doing that I keep referring to those webinars on our Tally Solutions website. So it's so nice and a fantastic initiative that Tally has taken, and I congratulate the entire Tally team along with Arvind sir and you as well for taking this initiative on a regular basis. Thank you very much. Right, and dear participants, good afternoon, and I wish a happy yoga day to all of you. It's the power, it's a soft power of India, which is shown across the world now, that how a small thing like yoga can also deliver such huge response across the globe. So our topic is today, as I formally call it, RRR. It's not about movie, but it is about reconciliation of books of accounts with GSTR1, 2A and 2B. Right. So friends, why this topic today? Because we have come across this grand release of TallyPrime, release 3.0. And in fact, it is a giant leap towards making Tally a complete GST product. GST is, of course, goods and service tax, but this is also an acronym for greatly simplified TallyPrime. So we will see what we are going to look at it today. So in release 3.0, we've got a lot of things: multi-GSTN, enhancement, faster GSTR returns, reconciliation, filter. Just last week, we had Rajendra sir discussing on the power of filter, how you can get Tally's report in 10 times more efficient way and 10 times different way. Any of you who has missed the session, please go on Tally's website and find for this CA community channel, and there you can find the session on the two things. One was of payment link and another was of filtration. It was really a fantastic lecture, and after being in Tally for so long and after looking at the feature, I also got to know quite a few things which earlier I was not aware when this release had come. So would recommend all of you to go back and as the time permits in the CA community portal. So coming to our today's session, it's all about setup. The entire reconciliation is based on setup of masters, invoicing, of course, the voucher entry, invoicing of sales and purchase invoice being recorded, reflected in return, and finally, it is all about reconciliation. New and powerful capabilities to help you manage your GST compliance with greater ease and greater speed. And I would, at this point of time, I would like to repeat that this is indeed simplicity ka naya avatar. And let us move ahead. Kumalji, is my sound clear? There's some question on that.
So sound is clear, but it's cracking in middle. So I thought it might be my internet issue, but I think we are receiving replies on it's cracking.
Let me just switch off the air condition. And
okay, sir. So two, three of them are
video.
saying it's clear. So I think it should be fine.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, much better, sir.
Fantastic. So nice. Thank you for that feedback. My good friend Jayesh Parikh is there. Hello, sir. Right. So as I said, RRR, GSTR1, 2A, and of course, once you have understood what is 2A, 2B is also a part of it. Right. So, friends, when we talk of reconciliation, there are multiple ways of reconciliation. And here I would like to, like Abhishek Bhai, to take a poll that Tally has already got bank reconciliation, auto bank reconciliation. So how many of you are using the auto bank reconciliation? How many are aware but not using it? Or how many of us are regularly using it? So would like all of you to take a poll on that. And by the time you are doing a poll, we will just come to know that there are other kind of reconciliations which people ask for is ledger balance reconciliation between two different books of accounts. Then there are TDS reconciliation. And finally, the reconciliation that we are going to discuss on this. So there are 250 persons attending the session. So how many of us are already using auto bank reconciliation?
Sir, I think 23 of them has said that they are regularly using it.
Just let me know when the poll ends.
Yeah, I can end it now. I think 60% has already answered the poll.
So what you
should I end the poll now?
What is the response that we get?
164 people have responded, and
yes.
70 people out of them are not aware and they want to know more. 67 are aware but not using it. Yeah,
50% are not aware only. And yes. How many people are aware?
40% is aware of this and 17% are regularly using it.
Oh my.
And 42% is not aware.
So out of a population of 100 or 100 percentile, only 20% is using a feature which is there in Tally for so long. Friends, I agree that those who are not aware are not using it, but for those who are aware but not using it, maybe more sessions can be kept at from Tally's perspective. The idea is that reconciliation, what is reconciliation? Like in bank reconciliation, you've got entries in bank, not in books. You've got entries in books, not in banks. So the similar reconciliation, we are going to have entries in books, in portal, entries in portal, not in books. And of course, there are nuts and bolts related to that particular aspect. Okay, so we can correlate that while this is an important function, we need to know about it, and not only know about it, practice this particular functionality. And after practicing this functionality, we need to also ensure that they are being used and implemented on a regular basis. Thank you thank you to all those people who participated in the poll. Right. One more question that I would like to ask at this point of time. What is your general relationship with Tally as an accounting person, or as an owner of business, or as a consultant, tax consultant, maybe chartered accountant, those who are looking at multiple Tally data in a day or in a week? So what you are generally behaving, your relationship with Tally is? So you are an auditor. So according to that, I will, briefly put my presentation, change my presentation a brief, not much, but at least some of the concepts which accountants are aware. I need not go into that concept. So that is what it is.
Your voice is cracking a lot if you're continuing. So maybe you can switch off your camera. That might help.
Okay, I'll switch off the camera.
Yeah. And meanwhile, in the chat, we can see the replies on accountant, consultant.
Okay. Tax consultants, many of tax consultant, if someone are owner, that also can be, or if they are students. Thank you. Yes. Right. I'm starting with the reconciliation feature. Okay. Right. So the first thing is our GSTR1 reconciliation. Okay. So in GSTR1 reconciliation, first we need to know why we need to do this reconciliation. Now that from 1st August, 5 crore also e-invoice would be applicable. So most of them are accountants, some of the students. Thank you. Okay. So they are using TallyPrime with simplicity, but there are multiple scenarios in which the need for reconciliation arises. Cancelled, deleted in books, but not on portal. Invoice created in books, but not on portal. Cancelled on portal, forgot to cancel in books. Backdated entries after GSTR1 is filed. And the major reason why a reconciliation is required is amendments, editing of invoice, or deletion of a transaction, or updation of invoice. So these are all the scenarios in which GSTR1 reconciliation is required. Okay, so these reconciliations are the reason for reconciliation. If we understand, then they are mostly related to the practical business scenarios, and many times the users are not being trained on the particular aspects, how to update it in the system. Okay, so let us see how we can move ahead. But before we move ahead, I would just like to make two concepts clear as to what these are. Tally has brought a new concept called set effective date. Set effective date is nothing but putting an date in the transaction for your statutory purposes. Okay. So this is process of providing statutory return filing date in voucher as per the accounting dates. The GSTR1 has been filed for the month of May, And now if I wish to enter a transaction, update a transaction for the month of May, I might have not recorded in the books. Okay, now I'm recording it. But now I wish to take it up in the month of June GSTR1. Okay, the date might be May, but June GSTR1. And many times the date of purchases, like you have asked for the goods, which has come in the first week of the month, and your supplier might have raised the invoice in the last week of the previous month. So in that reason also, there are different challenges which is comes in reconciliation. So Tally has brought in a new concept called set effective date. Okay, so I will show you from where this is. I just wanted to make you understand that this is a concept, how to use it, that we will come on that. There are few other concepts that I like to discuss. One is mismatch in return period. Mismatch in return period is nothing but you are providing at a separate separate return date, and your supplier or your customer is accounting it in a separate date. So while the transaction, everything is matching, there is a difference in the return period. Mismatch with books and uncertain in books. So uncertain in books is an important concept, and mismatch is also an important concept. Please understand that when we are filing GST, when we are filing e-invoice from Tally, Tally has got its own understanding of your GST transaction. Now, if your transaction is not matching with Tally's internal working, which is complied with the GSTN books of rather GSTN laws, so then the transaction would be reflected as uncertain. Mismatch is when, while other things are trailing, but your books of accounts and the vendor's books of accounts, or your books of accounts or portal books, they are mismatched. Okay, that is a different thing. So there is a mismatch in invoice amount, or there is a mismatch in something. So that is a different thing. But uncertain is those transactions which are not complied with the basic GSTN internal workings that Tally themselves have provided. So uncertain in books, whenever you look at uncertain in books, you will find that there is a change in rate. Tally is not clear whether you are taking it from masters or you are taking it from transaction. So uncertain in books are those, or you have not provided the place of supply properly. Okay, so if these details, so PIN code properly, so if these details are not provided properly, then you might find that the transaction is looked at uncertain. So the first clarity is that you have to first clear uncertainty. You have to inform Tally that, okay, these are the things and I accept the working. So I will tell you when we move along as to what are the aspects for that. One more concept which is important is this match transactions by ignoring difference in books and portal values. So portal value might have difference of means you are comfortable with a difference of maybe 1 rupee, or in some case of 10 rupee. But in what way? Okay, so this is one important concept that you have to understand, that match transactions by ignoring difference in books and portal values comes with the first is the option that you have to provide what is the value. The second is you have to provide ensure that either of these three scenarios are selected: taxable and tax amount, invoice amount, or taxable, tax amount and invoice amount applicable for. Okay, or what is the difference that you have to do with, whether you have to ignore the difference if it is lesser or greater or lesser than the portal value, greater or lesser. So I generally allow difference in values up to ₹1 for both taxable, tax and invoice amount. And the third option is that whether it is greater or lesser, ₹1 is fine. Okay, this is what my selection of working is, but it could be different for user to user. In a short while, I will show it to you in Tally itself that how this has to be reflected. General, my team suggested that we have to do it before the import of returns. Okay. let me take you to Tally now. How to do it? Download the JSON, download from the GST portal, go to GSTR1 Reconciliation report, import GST returns, select the file, and modification, if any, you need to note it, please note it or correct it. Okay, when to do the reconciliation? Normally GSTR1, we can do it before filing of 3B or before filing of annual return. Again, we can do this reconciliation. Okay, so let me show you how. Alt G, GSTR1, GSTR1 Reconciliation, Alt O, import, and that's it, GST returns. And here I have to select the file where the file is. So GSTR1, I can select the file and accept. So I have downloaded it from the GSTN portal, and that's it. So it accepts the entire transaction. Now the reconciliation is happening, importing from GSTR1 data. File is being imported for the month of May 2023. So total transactions 112 has been imported. And once you go out here, you find that everything, that status is reconciled. All the transactions are reconciled. That's it. Friends, there has been some amendments also. There are some additional GSTR1 enhancement that Tally has brought in, and let me share some of those enhancement with you. So deleting transactions after export. So let me share some practical scenarios with you. So transactions have already been exported to a GSTR1. Now, if those needs to be deleted and those deletion needs to be updated on the GSTN portal, deletion or amendment, those aspects, how to do it, let us check. So one second. So this is my GST registration, GSTR1. In F12, I have to click on F12 and make show GST status as yes. And it shows that this transaction has already been exported. I select it. I click on button called Alt D and delete selected. I say yes. So once I say yes, mark for the option comes, mark for deletion on portal. This option comes in our normal Tally dashboard only. Delete before signing of the return. You select this once again. Go to GST returns. Select it. And click on button export. So export file would be generated, JSON file would be generated. So this is all about deletion of the transaction. Now let us look at modification of transaction after export. So if a transaction is modified and it has been exported, now I'm changing the quantity of this transaction. So modified in books after export, because you have already exported, there is a status which comes modified in books after export. So here you will find that in the dashboard, you have this clear cut guidance that this transaction has been modified, so that you are able to take control of this. Go to GST returns. In the configuration, say show status, GST status as yes. Select the option of modified or the transaction which has been modified. Go back to GST return, JSON file, exported. That's it. You can import this modified file in your GSTN portal directly, or the deleted file which we had shown earlier. This JSON file, you can directly import it. Friends, there is one more concept which has come, is signing or undo signing of return. Signing is you are informing Tally that yes, my report is complete, GSTR1 is complete. I have now physically signed, or I have signed it on the portal. Let me also record the same in the books of accounts. So on the right hand side, there is a button called F10, mark as signed. Click on that button. So here it will show two options: mark current return as signed, and in case your previous returns are also not signed, you can mark them as well. I would prefer the first option, mark current return as signed. So marking the return as signed. So here the option would be a few transactions. Here we have not yet clear, but we wish to continue. They are uncertain yet. I can select yes or no. Ideally, uncertain transaction should be first reconciled, should be first cleared. So on the top, it shows GST status as signed. And in case you wish to unsign this, on the right hand side, the F10 is again available. Mark as unsigned. There is an arrow near F10. Click on that. Undo signing. So you can remove the signature as well. This is important. Amendment of transaction after signing of return. So what is it? How you can amendment? You have signed out, you have filed it on the portal. Now the amendment is happening in the books of accounts. We are amending a transaction, changing the quantity. Uncertain transactions, correction needed. So effective date of amendment is not specified or invalid. Here you will get it. On the right hand side, the button Alt L or set effective date is there. So we click on this set effective date. So currently, as per the transaction, it is 9 November, but we wish to put the next month. So we can provide the date. The beauty is that this would be reflected. This can be different for both 1 and 3B. And now we have specified that whether the transaction date be 19th, but amendments marked for future returns. And once I go to the December return, I select the period for December. I find that it is amended B2B invoices. Okay. So here one can see that this option of set effective date, how effectively they have used it. Delete the transaction after signing the return. So we have selected the transaction, deleting it. Mark for deletion on portal. Return effective date, we can provide 1st December. That's it. So Tally allows us to delete a transaction and get it reflected in the next month. Right. Let me take any query.
So in the Q&A, you can see.
Yes. Let me just look at it, because now we are completing one particular aspect of GSTR1. We'll move to another aspect of 2 and 2B, 2A. I think, Rishabh, I have already answered to your question of modified some transaction for April after filing. Will this modified be visible? Yes, it would be visible. Mr. Heather Ali, we are not working on multi-GSTN part right now, additional place of business. So maybe at some other session. Pratik, what is the use of signing the return? So signing is nothing but informing Tally that yes, my work is complete. It is just a flag to Tally. Yes, yes, amendments would be included in JSON. Signing of return, I have already informed. So for quarterly filing, Tally already has got the GSTR return. that you can take help of? Mr. Shankar? Those who are finding, signed means it has been uploaded on the portal. While there is no official record which is going, Mr. Bashir, but it is just informing tally data only. Yes, this transaction is complete for me. But whatever is required to be done on portal, that you have to do it. Yes. Once you have amended this, you need not do it manually. You can upload the revised return. Mr. Singh says effective date will be useful for goods in transit. I completely agree with you. Is there an option of export GSTR1? Very much, Mr. Prem. It is already there for so long. It has been used by many SSEs. While filing return, it shows not included in return. Can you explain what it does? Okay, Dharya, there are some transactions which are not included in the return, or they are not related to return. So in a sales GSTR1, a purchase transaction or a receipt or a payment transaction to a normal debtor creditor may not be included. So those transactions would not be included in the return. So once you enter it in those transactions, you will find that those transactions are not included in the return. Mind you, I have not used the word excluded. Excluded is another terminology which I will take up a little while later. Excluded by the user. Karthik, your TallyPrime not showing GSTR1 reconciliation option. That means either you are using an option before 2.1, or we need to check why it is there. But any TallyPrime release 3.0 and above will definitely have option of GSTR1 reconciliation. Let me take you to the live tally, Karthik. So DOG, here you find that 1, 2A and 2B reconciliation. This is the option which they have added. Tally company has added just recently. Option of moving data, that is not the right forum as of now. You can change the status of mark for deletion. Edit log 3.0 and normal tally 3.0, not much difference except for the purpose of edit, Mr. Shankar. Thank you. Thank you for all the questions. Before we move to, let me show a practical GST option, F12. As I had said, that match transaction by ignoring difference. Yes, 1 rupee. This is the option that you get it. 1 rupee, 10 rupee, whichever way in which you wish to put it, that you can put it. So it is there available right at the beginning. Okay. When you enter it to it. And further, once you enter into the transaction GST, here when you look at F5 voucher wise, you get all the other options in F12 as well. Okay, now I'll come on those as to what are the other options, conceptual working for GSTR-2A and 2B reconciliation. So let me take few concepts of Tally 2A or 2B reconciliation. Accepting transactions for GST rates and HSN code mismatch. Now, what do you mean by that? So in Tally, when we are operating, Tally is slightly, when we are operating, it asks us whether to accept with conflict and resolve later, override and accept with conflict, or back, remain in the edit mode. That is the meaning of this. Okay, when does this come? When you are informing Tally that you have to take the GST rates and HSN from the transaction or from the master, and in the transaction itself. Let me show you a practical transaction. So this is a transaction. Suppose once I am accepting this transaction, here it is coming, accept, override or back. Now accept without conflict. If I click on O, okay, that means that even if there is a conflict, please accept it. Accept with conflict and resolve later. Now why is that conflict coming? Let me look into it. Because if you see, in the GST configuration, I have mentioned specified details here, and in HSN configuration, I have mentioned as per masters plus company. If I modify this as per masters company, okay, and then accept the transaction, no question asked, it has moved it. But in case I do not modify that, specify details here, 18% is what I am putting, then it is asking for the question. Now this is just one of the reason why I have shown you, but the idea is that tax details are modified. Override is the option that you have to select. Override. Otherwise, it will go in the uncertain transaction in the Tally GSTR1 report for sales 2 or 2A report or 2B for the in that uncertain transaction it will go. So you have to select override. Similarly, accepting masters. Now, let me take a water break for a second. Accepting masters from effective date. Now, this is also one of the important concept which now the first one was not is there in Tally 2.1 for long, or rather in TallyPrime also. But this concept, accepting masters from effective date, it has just come. What is this? This is, in this there are three options: accept the masters, and U and N. Where does it come and what is it? Let me just show you an example. I go to a master. Suppose this is a master. Here in F12, I have provided as ignore prefix and suffix as yes. Okay. What this is, I'll come a little while later on this, but first is how this concept is important for our reconciliation. Understand that. Ignore prefix and suffix for reconciliation. I have given it as yes. And I am saying to Tally that from 1523, for this RV computer, ignore the word AC if it is there in the invoice. Here, it will say that so many transactions, 26 transactions, except the master, that GST status will be updated while opening the return. Whenever I am opening the return of that particular month, suppose I am opening it from the month of May, this would be reflected. Or accept the masters and update the GST status of the voucher itself. So within the GST status of the vouchers, when we are reconciling, at that time, you just update the masters. Or back is do not modify this thing, remain in the edit mode. So these are the changes that you need to understand, that we will have to first learn about this. When we have to learn, I will come on that. Okay. So accept masters and update the status of vouchers and remain in update. Then one more concept which is important is show potential matches between books and portal. Now when we make this option as yes, show potential matches, then we are informing Tally that even if one of the parameter out of those 5 parameters, that is GSTN number, amount, date, voucher number, any of these are not matching, but other are matching, you show me the potential matches. So this is also again an important concept which we must know about it. Okay, so we have already discussed about mismatched transaction, mismatch in return dates also we have answered. There are other concepts which we need to know. Is the system inferred. That means Tally is in itself deciding that this is reconciled or this is as per the system within the logics of Tally software itself. Okay, system inferred are those within the logic of Tally. Mismatch in return period we have already discussed. Uncertain also we have discussed. Available in books are those which are available only in books, available only on portal. Once you are reconciling, this option will get activated, reconciled manually. Now, sometimes the matching is done manually, so you can manually also reconcile the data excluded by the users, but available on portal. Now, these are your user have by mistake or otherwise excluded it, but they are now showing on the portal. So this is also one of the status which you must know how that is impacting your reconciliation. And of course, the potential matches based on my previous slides configuration. Okay. So what are the steps for GSTR-2A to be reconciliation? First is download the Excel sheet of 2A and 2B. Mind you, I'm not saying JSON. JSON also you can download. First is Excel sheet. Download the columnar purchase register of yours. Take 1 or 2 invoice for each party. Okay. Do a visual comparison. Do a visual comparison in terms of, does the supplier invoice number has slash, okay, backslash, hyphen, or any other special character? Whether it is there in the portal or whether it is there in the books which is recorded. Just compare it. Okay, because you will have to match. You want the system to match. For the system to match, we need to put the logics. And for putting the logic, but obviously we will need to do a groundwork before we go upon matching the invoices. So we have to first see whether the supplier invoice number has got any special characters. Okay. How is the numbering of the vendor? Whether they are providing any prefix, like I prefer to put AT in my invoices, then somebody might put 2023-24 as a suffix of that invoices. So, and once you observe that this is a voucher numbering, what is it which is kept by you? Have you kept only the number or have you kept the exact details? Okay, this is something that you need to observe on a clear-cut voucher numbering. Prefix or suffix of the year, you need to observe. Whether there is a 0 before the number, okay, whether an invoice, what the vendor invoice is, whether they have prefilled it with 0, whether you have recorded that as 0. Once you have understood that these are the, by way of visual comparison, now you are ready. Of course, the last part is this assessable value, tax value, and the total invoice value. Just see whether there is a rounding which is happening for each transaction. Okay. So many times the assessable value is rounded off. Sometimes the tax value is rounded off by the vendor, but not by us. So these differences will be appearing in the reconciliation. How to resolve those differences, I will come on that. But before one has to be ready with these things, okay, whether these changes are there or not. So prefill with 0, voucher numbering and all those things, whether those changes are there or not, that we need to know. And once we are about to import the return, first is removal of uncertain transaction. Friends, reconciliation is important part. Reconciliation is between book value and the portal value. But before the book value, we need to make sure that all our transactions are matching with the GST logic engine that Tally has built up. So if the logic has not been set up with the Tally engine, so GST logic engine, let me give you some examples. Invoice number has to be less than 16 digit. If you have kept the number as 17 digit, then it is the against the GST logic engine which Tally has brought in. Okay, because the GSTN portal, while updating the e-invoice, they do not allow that invoice number, or an invoice number starting with 0 is not allowed. Now, these are the logics which is inbuilt in Tally. If you have not posted the transaction with these logics, then this would be reflected in the uncertain transaction. My first suggestion is go and remove all the uncertain transaction by ensuring proper updation. Okay. Right. So let me take some examples of the reconciliation. Display more reports, GST reports, 2A reconciliation. Since multiple states are there, I am going for Karnataka. Selecting the file. Now go to import GST returns. Selecting the file where it is situated. File to import. I have imported the transaction. So total transaction processed and transaction imported. So here I find that some transactions are there unreconciled. Let me look at what are those transactions. I go B2B invoices, enter. Just a minute. Mr. Haraprasad, the JSON would be generated by the GST portal. You have to import it. Just a moment. One second, my machine has got hanged. So I would request for a minute.
Can we take other Q&A, sir?
Yeah, I'm just looking at Q&A by the time machine starts.
Yeah.
Okay. Month-wise reconciliation not possible, only possible, not possible yearly. Can GSTR1 to be GSTN reports be deleted? Need to check on this. I'm also not aware, Ms. Vaibhavi. But why would you delete it? Because once you have imported, it is useful for reconciliation. How to export the JSON, the return filing JSON or the deletion JSON, Mr. Rohan? Palash, two purchase entries are available in my books, but still it is available only at the portal. Yes, of course, we are looking at that entries only, that they are available in the books and also, only in the portal, but how to reconcile. I'll show you how to do that. Miss Komal, I think I guess I'll have to restart my machine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you can just stop sharing and see if you
Yeah, I'll just see
the tally again.
that also helps.
Yeah. Sanjay, if you're there, if you can take a few queries once. Sanjay.
Yeah, Komal.
So while Punit sir is restarting, could you take queries from the end? You can see.
I'll do one thing. I'll just check some questions are there in the Q&A. I'm, replying to them one by one.
No. So meanwhile, Punit sir is restarting, so you can.
कोमल, तुम्हारी आवाज बराबर नहीं आ रही है. Your voice is faded. It's not clear.
Okay. I'm saying instead of typing, if you could take the few queries on stand, that should be fine because Punit sir is restarting the system.
Okay,
is my voice okay? Yeah. I think we can take from Rahul Jaju from the end.
So somebody is asking that how we can maintain multiple GSTN. Okay, so probably I can showcase till.
Sanjay, so as this session is focusing on reconciliation, so probably we'll take those questions first.
See, I understand, but I don't want to. Yes.
Sanjay, yeah, I'm done. I can start 1 second. 1 second.
Okay.
Great, sir. Please.
So we select the file which we need to import. So there are many files, many transactions which party-wise tally is showing. What could be the difference? So one transaction is Technomar from 150 and 174, which is reflected. The blue is reflected, is coming from the JSON file which we have imported. The normal black is our books of accounts transaction, friends. Voucher count it shows. So we click on F5 voucher wise. Yes. So the first thing, that is mismatched. Why mismatched? Because of the value of rupees. Okay. Now available only on portal. So one person has asked extruded, but available on portal. There are different reason why there could be reconciled. Automatically reconciled 3 transactions. Out of 9, automatically reconciled 3 transactions, which were because they were exact match. So the first option, that available only on portal, now 8876, and we see that it is available in the books also on the top of it, right? Rest everything is matching. Only thing which is not matching is the document number. So there is a hyphen available in the document number. So what to do for that? Two options. One is manually go and change your purchase invoice. Okay. Add it as if you are also going to put the hyphen, but that would mean amendment in transaction. Instead of that, what you can do is in F11, as I had mentioned, to visually compare. So here we can see that there are 3 reconciliation configurations which has been added. Earlier, these configurations were not there as a part of 2.1. But now, because the reconciliation being so complex subject, certain aspects are there in masters, certain aspects are there in F11. So this is a part of your F11 where you have to see whether the special character is used. As I had mentioned, the hyphen, hashtag, bracket, comma, it could be anything. So here you would be asked for effective date from when you want Tally to recognize this, the presence of a special character in voucher number. Okay, so when is it? I would recommend that whatever change you make it, make the change from the first date of the year, but it could be any of the options that Tally has provided. So this is the option 1st May. Here, the second concept that I was discussing, Y, U, and N. So the change is made in the master, and that change, whether you want to accept the master and update the GST status of the voucher, or you just want to change the master, and whenever you open the report next time, based on the effective date, at that time, this applicability is required. What you wish to have. So now it is updating all the 51 vouchers, special characters. Control A. That's it. So now Tally has recognized that there is a special character, and because of that, now it is automatically recognized. Engines auto arena is reconciled. Hope you get it. Now the other is available only on portal is for Satyam office needs. Yes. So they are prefilled with 0, and in our transaction, they are not there. 0 is not there. Again, we will take help of F11. Ignore 0. Friends, this is something that I had requested that you should be doing it before you start the import process. Okay, this would be of great help. So if you wish to ignore 0, if prefixed in supplier invoice document number, you can say that as yes. Again, new effective date from when? I'll put it 1st May. So for all the transactions, this would get reflected. Control A. Once the document number matches, it goes from available only on portal. We come to the third kind of reconciliation. Now, there is a prefix SHL, and in our books, we have not put the prefix. So what to do? This is a practical example that I had already go to the master. So in this, you will find ignore prefix and suffix. In case you do not find this option, go to F12 and select this option that I need to see prefix and suffix ignore option. You provide the date. Now this is ledger specific. This is not F11 specific. The earlier, that is 0 or the special character that is hyphen or bracket or anything, that was F11 specific. Please note, this is master specific. For CR Electrics, this is the option. Here you will find that how many vouchers this would get reflected? 2. That's it. This is also reconciled. Now the option of mismatched, but excluded but available on portal. These two options, let us see. Excluded but available. Maybe the user might have by mistake excluded it. So what we can do? We can set the GST status on the right hand side from excluded to system inferred. Let the system infer it. So system has reconciled it. Mismatched. The invoice number, invoice value or IGST value which is reflected in your books and which is reflected in the portal books are different. What to do? Select that transaction. You need to ignore 40 paisa. That's fine. Select that transaction on the right hand side. Set GST status. So instead of system inferred, we put manually reconciled. That is reconciled. So those which have been reconciled by us will be reflected as reconciled manually. Those which are reconciled by us would be reflected as reconciled manually. Finally, mismatch in return period. Now the transaction you have entered is of June, but in the month of May it is reflecting. What to do? Because of maybe the transaction date or something. So you can change the date of the transaction because it is a by mistake, it is clearly seen. Reconciled. So by this option, you can see all of the transactions were able to reconcile it. Right. Let me take a few FAQs. If the transaction in my books is the current month and supply uploads for GSTR1, can we handle? Yes. But with the help of set effective date, we can use this. Do we have any predictive mechanism to suggest the closest match of the transaction? Yes, Tally has got its in its engine that in case a 0 is replaced with O or otherwise, it will show in the show potential matches between books and portal. Okay. On signing, there were a few questions. What is signing of returns? Why do I need to sign my return? Okay. So can I mark my return as signed, even though it's not signed on GST portal. As I have already informed, signing is just an option to inform Tally software that yes, this return has been filed. So there is a process which is complete, and you can keep track of that for the earlier months also. So it is just a mechanism, or your digital, or I may say computerized completion of a particular aspect. It is nowhere or anywhere related to signing of the physical return on the GST portal, okay, by way of DSC or by way of EVC. It is nowhere related to that. It is just a flag which comes for, or which becomes applicable for all the transaction. Right, friends. Let me take few queries. Before I come on that, would request Abhishek to take up a few quiz from the user, as what I have told, have they, whether that has been understood or whether there are any queries which is required. And by the time I will also see few questions. So please answer, friends, please do answer the quiz. If your purchase voucher number is same as supplier's reference number, is GSTR-2B reconciliation possible?
Can anyone confirm if they can see the questions? Because
you please, can we see the questions? You please answer the questions, friends, if you are able to see. Yeah, thanks, Parag bhai. Let me see few of the queries. How to bring invoices available in portals to books from GSTR-2B to B Johnson. Upload the file, and then you will be able to see that invoices available after reconciliation only on portal. That you will be able to see, Mr. Rishabh. Supplier invoices in May, I have received it in June. If you are recording it in the month of June, Mr. Bashir, then you can use set effective date. You can just enter it otherwise. Okay. But in case you are recording it in the month of May, but you want to take GSTR credit, input credit in the month of June, then you can use set effective date. Ms. Webbavi, what if voucher date is not to be changed? We have never changed the voucher date. We are just changing the set effective date for return. Friends, there was an earlier concept of voucher date along with effective date. Now that is an accounting concept, is a different concept altogether. This set effective date is there in GST returns only, and you can use it for the purpose of GST. Your statutory accounting options will not get modified at any place. How to export Excel JSON file return after reconciliation? Vineet G, once the file is reconciled, why we need to again upload it in Excel or JSON? We can just manually, for our record purpose, in case you wish to, you can just manually export it in Excel, which is otherwise also available. So need not have much of the problem for that, as you are exporting your normal Tally data. After reconciliation, the 3B computation as per reconciliation or as per my entry in Tally? Deepak G, once you are providing the set effective date, the reconciliation, the 3B is impacted based on the set reconciliation date. Okay, especially for those input credit which you are taking it in earlier month. Now many times it does happen that in your 2B a transaction is not reflected. Okay, so whenever is reflected in that month, you can provide the date for that month. and based on that, you can take the credit in 3B. Yes, Mr. Ram, that's what I am saying. We have to match with 2B, right? So you can have a 2B reconciliation. It is absolutely the same. You download the JSON file, you import it. And once you are importing it, whatever is reflected in 2B, that much you can take the credit. The otherwise, you can keep it balanced. Okay. And in whichever month your 2B reflects a particular data, you can take the credit for that and you can take it in 3B. Dhairya, if some vouchers entered in Tally, but while checking reports, it is shown not included in return, what is the solution for it? There could be many problems. Maybe the GST has not got currently impacted. First, you check that GST configuration is properly updated. And once the GST configuration is updated, you will be able to once you resave that transaction, it would be available either in mismatch or in directly matched transaction. So first you check whether the ledger accounts which is selected, maybe the supply ledger accounts, whether GST has been enabled in those, whether the party account, if you are impacting a purchase or a sales transaction, whether party account has been impacted by use of GST number and other things. Once you see at that, other things will follow definitely. Mr. Manish, speed is a major issue when data is in large number. Yes, Mr. Manish, Tally team has assured us, while today is not the day for that, we could have shown you how speedier the reconciliation part and the opening of the GST report Tally has made it. I mean, it is really, really nice to see that a return file which was earlier taking about 3 to 4 minutes to open gets opened in few seconds or rather few milliseconds. So this was my personal experience as well. But the entire thing is, the crux of the matter is when you test it or when you check it. So Mr. Manish, please go ahead and test it in release 3.0. Whether the poll has been answered?
Yeah, poll has been answered by, just a second, let's check. It has been answered by 109 people, 46%. So
Okay.
I'll end the poll so that they can see the answers.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, we have majority giving the correct answer.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that is quite nice. Although
Yes.
the answers and everything we had worked with that, we have seen few of the options
Yes.
already in Tally. Right.
Okay, so have we answered most of the questions? I think there are a few
I
more.
think, yes, Mr. Shanmudan wants PowerPoint presentations that we make. I doubt it's very heavy presentation, Mr. Shanmu Sundaram.
Yeah.
But Komalji has got an announcement for viewing the presentation.
Yeah.
Once again.
No. So I was saying, so for instance, somebody in particular need a PPT, so please write it to the support team so that we can send you in a WeTransfer link or something like that, because it's a very heavy file. And I have also replied to few asking for the recording. The recording will be made available in a day or two. We'll upload in our CA community portal. I'll just put the link in the chat right now so that you all can see. And also we've been receiving requests to do sessions on Hindi. So I will ensure that we can do a session on TallyPrime 3.2 in Hindi next week, probably. And that's from my side, sir. And if we can just see a few more questions, or We can take a few questions from
Let me
raised
look
hands,
at
I think.
Q&A once. Dhaval bhai, these are all the features of Tally 3.0. These are not there in 2.0. Prajyot, we have imported to be reconciled some transaction. So that's why, Prajyot, I have given you steps by step how to import the data. What are the precautions while we are updating the transaction?
So I think there is
Prajyot, party name is different. Party name is never different. What I understand is that GSTN could be different. Yes.
so one question by I think Palash Datta. He has written 2 purchase entries are available in my book, but it's coming under available only in portal at the time of GSTR-2B reconciliation. Iska
Yes.
solution kya hai? And these particular vouchers are not showing in GSTR-2B reconciliation report, but those are showing in my purchase register.
So first is we need to know why they are not coming to the GSTR report. So maybe the GST has not got configured properly. So if you are saying that it is shown in your purchase register, that means the GST on that has not been activated. Please go and check the basic GST. So reconciliation will come into impact or effect only and only you have configured your GST maybe 75% or 80% of the time, or at least proper configuration has been made. Otherwise, it is difficult. The first is the GST engine. It has to get activated for your supply ledgers. Once the supply ledgers are then definitely I have not seen a transaction on which the GST has been activated and it is not reflecting in 1, 2 or 2AB. Okay, it would definitely be affected. Go and check your GST configuration first. Yeah.
Is there option in Tally 3.0 for duplicate supplier number?
Yes, Tally 3.0, as I said, it has got quite a good amount of self-inbuilt engine. It checks that the duplicate supplier number in case when you are reconciling a transaction and you have or your team has a habit of doing an alt2, there is a possibility that the supplier field might have got duplicate. So one of the options at one place we found that Tally is giving an error that this invoice number is duplicate. So that option Tally is already providing it. But there is no control as such. For control, you may have to go to customization. But as such, once a duplicate voucher invoice number is there, you can definitely get that in the reconciliation report saying that the voucher number is duplicate. Prakash ji is saying, tell us more about CA community site. Komal ji, you provided the link in the chat.
So I'm just putting the link in the chat.
Yes.
So the current link, community.tallysolutions, I've actually sent you a link of the webinar page. You can actually explore the entire community page. In the webinar page, we upload all the CA Connect videos, so you can see once at a glance. And
would request to all the participants to answer the quiz which is there on the portal also. It is quite nice. It is a different quiz than today's quiz, what we had it on our session. So you will also explore other aspects of Tally. You would love answering those quiz as well.
Okay, I think that brings us to the end. Should we answer? Sir, should we take one last question?
Yeah, please.
424. He's written, I tested some sample data while reconciling GSTR-2A. Some party name not display with GST number by portal, and some party name shows old name which was name changed in portal. And Tally master as well, but still old name shows. I think it's something with the name correction in the portal.
So Tally, what Tally portal takes is more of a GSTN number, less of the name what we have recorded. So you may have recorded Punit B Mehta, Punit Mehta or PM in your books of accounts. It matters little, but what you have recorded is my GST number correctly. If that is the case, then you should be able to reconcile. The name should not be of a much of a consequence, friends. That's what I understand. Why it is not reflected in books? Acha, one more thing that Tally has brought in. I don't know, we've already completed today's session, but there are quite a few things that GST from GST perspective that Tally has brought in is the concept of effective date of the GST registration. So in case a user has got the GST user has got suspended, and then suppose your client has got vendor has got suspended for 1 month, and then again the GST number has got activated. Now in the GST registration of that, or rather when you are entering the party masters, at that time you can provide the date for which it was suspended and from when it was reactivated. So it is quite interesting that Tally has brought lots and lots of GST features.
Yes, thank you so much. I think the mostly questions are now repetitive in terms. So one thing I would say is, as this is a new product and which has multiple possibilities, and we will make sure that every week we cover a single topic so that more and more queries are answered and your doubts are all clear. Meanwhile, if you are in a speed to get your queries answered, I would really request that write to us even with the link of the community portal. There's a discussion forum. You can write your query personally. It will be answered by Tally support team, or you can go to your Tally website where you can actually write your query, help.tally solutions, which has many FAQs answered for TallyPrime 3.0. And at last, if you know any of the Tally users, Tally partners, I think they are all ready to help and make sure that you transition from whichever version of Tally you're using to the latest TallyPrime 3.2, because this is the greatest offering Tally has ever had, and it has brought out the most awaited features which we have been getting requests of all time. So thank you, Punit sir, for a great
Pleasure.
session. We still have 200 odd people with us. So I think with the queries and all, this is a very good thing. I can actually give the feedback to the product team with so many queries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I will now end the session.
Thank you and pleasure. Thank you, everyone. I've given my best. And in case there is something that needs to be told, please do write back to Tally team as well as to me in case you wish to connect. Thank you.